The rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn gleamed under the sodium lamps like shattered glass, and Jose Rivera stood frozen on the corner of Atlantic Avenue, his heart pounding as the church doors swung open. Laughter spilled out first, bright, cruel, oblivious, followed by the bride and groom, arms linked, rice scattering like confetti grenades. But it was the groom's face that gutted him. Ryan's, twisted in joy, kissing not Jose, but the man beside him. Jose's identical twin, Marcus, the one who'd always stolen everything without trying. Jose's breath caught, a razor in his throat, as the crowd surged forward with cheers, oblivious to the ghost in their midst. He'd come out 6 months ago, whispered it to Ryan in the dim light of their shared apartment, only for the world to shatter when Marcus swooped in, playing the straight brother card until he didn't. Now, watching them drive off in a vintage Mustang, tin cans rattling like chains, Jose tasted salt. Not from the rain, but from the tears he swore he'd never shed again. He turned away, fists clenched in his pockets, the city swallowing him whole as the first sob ripped free raw, unbidden, a howl against the indifference of New York. Jose stumbled into the nearest dive bar, the kind with sticky floors and neon signs flickering like dying fireflies. O'Malley's was a relic, tucked between a bodega and a laundromat in Bed-Stuy, where the jukebox still spun Springsteen and the regulars nursed grudges older than their liver spots. He claimed a stool at the far end, away from the cluster of off-duty cops laughing too loud, and ordered a whiskey neat, double make it burn. The bartender, a grizzled Irishman named Finn with tattoos snaking up his forearms like forgotten rivers, slid the glass over without a word. Jose downed it in one go, the fire in his chest blooming into something almost welcome, a distraction from the ache that had rooted there since the wedding invite arrived 3 weeks ago. "We're tying the knot," Ryan's email had read, casual as a weather update. "You should come. For closure. Closure." As if love could be gift-wrapped and discarded like yesterday's takeout. He signaled for another, staring at the scarred wooden bar top, tracing the initials someone had carved there decades ago. JD plus MR initials that mocked him now. Jose David Rivera. Marcus Rafael Rivera. Twins, born 3 minutes apart. 28 years ago in a cramped hospital room in the Bronx. Their mother gasping through labor while their father paced the hall, chain-smoking camels. They'd been inseparable then, two halves of a whole, finishing sentences, sharing secrets, stealing each other's clothes just to see who could pull off the other's style better. Marcus, the golden boy, charismatic, straight-A athlete, the one who charmed teachers and dated cheerleaders. Jose, the shadow, quieter, bookish, the one who fixed the family car and dreamed in colors Marcus never saw. Coming out had been Jose's first act of rebellion, a quiet detonation in the powder keg of their lives. It started with Ryan, met at a graphic design gig in Manhattan, where Jose sketched logos for indie bands and Ryan coded apps for startups. Ryan with his easy smile, his freckles like constellations across his nose, his laugh that made Jose feel seen for the first time. They'd fallen fast. Late-night walks along the High Line, stolen kisses in Central Park, whispered futures over cold pizza in their Bushwick walk-up. "I love you," Ryan had said one night, tracing Jose's jawline. "All of you." But love, Jose learned, was a fragile thing, easily bent by family ties and unspoken fears. When Marcus crashed on their couch after a bad breakup, just for a week, bro, the air shifted. Marcus, with his effortless charm, his stories from the road, he was a freelance photographer, chasing sunsets in national parks, drew Ryan in like a moth to flame. Jose saw it coming. The lingering glances, the inside jokes that excluded him, the way Ryan's hand brushed Marcus's when passing the remote. He confronted Ryan one rain-lashed evening, voice cracking. "Is it him? Or was it never me?" Ryan's denial was a knife twist. "You're paranoid, Jose. Marcus is family." But the seed was planted, doubt festering like an untreated wound. 6 months later, after Jose mustered the courage to come out to the family. First to his abuela, who crossed herself and prayed, then to his parents, who hugged him tight but whispered about God's plan. The fallout was swift. Marcus, ever the protector, stepped in. "Hey, If you're struggling, maybe take a break, he'd said to Ryan over beers at a Knicks game. And Ryan, adrift in the confusion of it all, listened. Now, here was Jose, drowning in whiskey number 3, the bar's haze closing in like a fog. Finn leaned over, wiping a glass. Rough night, kid? You look like you lost a fight with a ghost. Jose managed a half-smile, bitter as the dregs in his glass. Something like that. Ever watch someone you love choose your mirror image instead of you? Finn paused, eyes narrowing in that way barkeeps do when they've heard every sob story twice. Twins, eh? That's Shakespearean shit. My brother and I. Well, let's just say blood don't always mean loyalty. He poured another splash on the house. Name's Finn. What's yours? Jose. He hesitated, then added, Rivera. And yeah, it's as messed up as it sounds. The door banged open then, letting in a gust of cold air and a man who moved like he owned the shadows. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a leather jacket slung over a faded Metallica tee, jeans worn at the knees. He scanned the room, nodded at Finn, and slid onto the stool next to Jose without invitation. Up close, he smelled like pine and motor oil, the kind of scent that lingered from highway runs. Douglas, he said, extending a hand calloused from something manual, guitar strings maybe, or wrenches. His voice was low, gravelly, with a faint southern drawl that didn't match the New York grit. You buying, or am I? Jose blinked, caught off guard by the easy intrusion. First round's on me, if you don't mind the company of a wedding crasher. Douglas chuckled, a sound like distant thunder. Hell, I crashed my own family reunion once. Shotgun and all. What's the occasion? Shotgun wedding. Worse. Twin brothers. Jose's words slurred just a touch, the alcohol loosening the knot in his chest. He hadn't meant to spill, but Douglas had that look. Patient, unjudging, like he'd seen his share of storms. They talked then, or rather, Jose unloaded while Douglas nursed a beer, interjecting with nods and the occasional "that sucks, man." About Ryan's laugh turning hollow, about Marcus's texts. Congrats, bro, you'll find your person. Dripping with false cheer. About the family dinner where his mother had patted his hand and said, maybe it's a phase, mijo, while his father avoided his eyes. Douglas listened, really listened, his green eyes steady under lashes too long for a guy built like a linebacker. By last call, the bar emptying into the night, Douglas clapped Jose on the shoulder. Healing ain't linear, Jose. But starting with a stranger in a shithole bar? That's a step. He scribbled a number on a napkin. Call if you need backup. Or just someone to hate weddings with. Jose pocketed it, watching Douglas vanish into the rain, a silhouette against the streetlights. For the first time that night, the ache felt a little less like drowning, a little more like surfacing. The subway ride home was a blur of fluorescent lights and rattling cars. Jose's head lolling against the window, the city scrolling by in smears of color. His apartment in Bushwick waited like a tomb. Ryan's old sneakers still by the door, a half-empty coffee mug on the counter from their last morning together. He kicked off his shoes, collapsed onto the couch, and stared at the ceiling cracks that mapped out like veins. Sleep came fitful, haunted by dreams of white tuxedos and vows exchanged in echoes. He woke to sunlight slicing through the blinds, his phone buzzing with a text from an unknown number. Survived the night? Coffee on me if you're up. D. Jose stared at it, thumb hovering. Part of him wanted to delete, to curl back into isolation. But another part, the one that had come out raw and real, replied, black, 2 sugars. You picked the spot. They met at a corner cafe in Williamsburg, the kind with exposed brick and overpriced lattes. Hipsters tapping away on laptops like the world depended on their blogs. Douglas was already there, 2 steaming cups on the table. His hair tousled like he'd run a hand through it one too many times. Figured you'd need strong, he said, pushing one over. I'm more of a diner guy, but this place has decent scones. Jose sipped, the bitterness grounding him. Thanks, for last night. I don't usually unload on strangers. Strangers what I'm best at. Douglas leaned back, sizing him up with a grin that crinkled the corners of his eyes. Grew up in Alabama, chased dreams to Nashville, ended up hauling freight cross-country. Now I'm just a trucker with a guitar habit, crashing in Brooklyn till the next haul. Jose nodded, tracing the rim of his cup. Graphic designer. Or was. Freelance dried up after. Everything. He didn't elaborate, but Douglas didn't push. Instead, they talked music. Jose's love for old soul, Douglas's obsession with outlaw country. And for an hour, the wedding felt like a distant storm cloud. Not the hurricane it was. As they parted, Douglas lingered. Hey, there's this open mic tonight at a spot in the East Village. No pressure, but if you're tired of your own head, could use a +1 who gets Springsteen lyrics. Jose hesitated, the napkin number burning in his pocket. Yeah, maybe. That maybe turned into a yes, and by evening he was there, dim lights, smoke haze, a stage sticky with spilled drinks. Douglas performed second, his voice a rumble over acoustic strings, singing about lost highways and second chances. The crowd was sparse, but Jose clapped loudest, caught in the raw honesty of it. After, over cheap beers backstage, Douglas wiped sweat from his brow. Your turn next time. Bet you've got stories that'd kill. Jose laughed, genuine for the first time in months. Not the performing kind, but, thanks, for this. Douglas's gaze held, warm and steady. Anytime, Jose. Healing's better with backup. Weeks blurred into a rhythm Jose hadn't known he craved. Mornings sketching at the cafe, afternoons dodging Marcus's voicemails. Call me, man. We need to talk. Evenings with Douglas, wandering the city like it was theirs to reclaim. They hit the Brooklyn Museum one rainy Saturday, losing hours in the Warhol room, Douglas cracking jokes about the soup cans, while Jose pointed out the quiet ironies in the portraits. See that guy? Jose said, nodding at a faded face. Looks like he's hiding a secret, like the world's too small for it. Douglas bumped his shoulder. Or maybe he's just waiting for someone to see it. Another night, they drove Douglas's beat-up Ford out to Coney Island, boardwalk lights flickering against the Atlantic's endless black. The cyclone loomed silent in winter, but they walked the sand anyway, shoes sinking into cold grains. Jose confessed more then. The fear of being the gay twin. The family whispers. The way Ryan's betrayal felt like a referendum on his worth. Douglas listened, then shared his own scars. Coming out at 17 in a Bible Belt town. The bruises from his father's belt. The sister who stood by him when no one else did. You're not broken, Jose, Douglas said, voice fierce against the waves. You're the one who had the guts to say it out loud first. That's power. Jose looked at him, the moonlight carving shadows on Douglas's face, and felt something shift. A spark, fragile but real. Not love, not yet, but possibility. The kind that whispered, you deserve this. But possibility, like all fragile things, teetered on the edge. It started with a call from his mother, voice trembling over the line. Mijo, your brother. He and Ryan, they're expecting a baby. We need you home for the shower. Jose's world tilted, the phone slipping from numb fingers. Expecting a family built on the ruins of his. He hung up, chest heaving, and texted Douglas. Can't make tonight. Rain check. The silence that followed was louder than any storm. Jose ghosted for days, holing up in his apartment like a wounded animal. Sketches piling up unfinished on the coffee table. Half-formed faces, fractured cityscapes that mirrored the cracks in his soul. The baby news clawed at him, a fresh betrayal layered over the old. Marcus and Ryan, playing house in a brownstone upstate, posting ultrasound pics on Instagram with captions like Our Little Miracle. Jose scrolled through them in the dead of night, thumb hovering over the like button, hating the pull, the ache of what-ifs. He avoided mirrors, too. Anything that echoed Marcus's face staring back, the twin curse that had always made him feel half-erased. Instead, he blasted Nina Simone until the walls vibrated, her voice a bomb and a blade. I think it's gonna rain today. And it did, relentless sheets that turned Brooklyn into a watercolor smear. Douglas's texts came steady at first. You okay? Then miss our bullshit sessions, evolving to worried. Man. Doors open if you need it. Jose read them, heart twisting, but replied with nothing. Vulnerability had cost him Ryan. What if it cost him this budding friendship, too? Douglas felt different, solid, unassuming, but trust was a muscle atrophied from disuse. On the fourth day, a knock rattled the door, insistent but not aggressive. Jose peered through the peephole. Douglas, holding a paper bag from the bodega, rain dripping from his hood. "I know you're in there," he called, voice muffled. "Brought empanadas. Your abuela's recipe, or close enough. Open up before I serenade the neighbors." Jose cracked the door, chains rattling like accusations. "How'd you? Stalked your Insta for clues. Bad habit." Douglas held up the bag, steam curling out. "Truce? 5 minutes, then I'll bounce if you want." Against his better judgment, Jose let him in. The apartment smelled of grease and spices as they sat on the floor. Douglas cross-legged, Jose against the couch, devouring beef and cheese pockets that were, surprisingly, spot on. "Learned from a truck stop cook in Texas," Douglas said around a bite. "Said it's all in the cumin." Silence stretched, comfortable at first, then heavy. Douglas set his plate down, eyes searching. "Want to talk about why you vanished? Or should I guess, alien abduction? Witness protection." Jose's laugh was choked, a dam breaking. "Baby. Ryan and Marcus. They're having a kid." The words tumbled out, raw and jagged, followed by the flood. The family pressure, the shower invite that felt like salt in wounds, the fear that he'd always be the outsider at his own table. Douglas didn't flinch, just nodded, letting the confession breathe. "That's a gut punch. Deserved better than radio silence, but I get it. Hiding feels safe." He paused, picking at a seam in his jeans. "My ex, first love, back in Nashville. Knocked up his rebound 6 months after we split. I drove past their place once, saw the crib in the window. Felt like the world ended." Jose looked up, surprise cutting through the fog. "You never said. Didn't want to one-up your pain." Douglas shrugged, but his eyes were soft. "Point is, it passes. Not easy, but it does. And you're not alone in it." They talked till midnight, the rain a steady drum outside, confessions weaving like threads. Douglas spoke of his band days, gigs and dive bars where he'd sing about heartbreak to crowds too drunk to care. Jose shared design dreams deferred, wanting to illustrate children's books, stories where outcasts found their place. By the time Douglas stood to leave, the air felt lighter, the shadows shorter. "Open mic tomorrow," he said at the door. "No pressure, but I'd like you there." Jose nodded, a small victory. "Yeah, I'll try." He showed, squeezed into a corner booth at the village spot, nursing a ginger ale as performers took the stage. Douglas saved the best for last. A new song, rough-edged, about bridges burned and rebuilt. "We chased the ghosts we made ourselves," he sang, but the road ahead's got room for two. His eyes found Jose's in the crowd, holding just a beat too long, and something electric hummed in the space between. After, they walked the wet streets, steam rising from grates like secrets escaping. "That was for you," Douglas admitted, hands jammed in pockets. "The healing part." Jose's throat tightened. "It's working. A little." They parted with a hug, brief, brotherly. But Jose lay awake that night, replaying the lyrics, the warmth of Douglas's jacket against his cheek. Friendship, he told himself. Just that. But the spark flickered brighter. Spring crept in, tentative, greening the parks and coaxing Jose out of his shell. He took on a freelance gig, branding for a queer youth center in Harlem, pouring his pain into logos that screamed resilience. Interlocking hands in rainbow hues, bold sans serif fonts declaring you are enough. Douglas tagged along to the first meeting, waiting in the hall with coffee, his presence a quiet anchor. "You're good at this," he said later, flipping through Jose's sketches on the subway ride home. "Making beauty from the mess." Jose flushed, and used to praise without strings. "Learned from watching too many sunsets you drag me to." Their routines deepened. Tuesday tacos at a taqueria in Jackson Heights, where Jose taught Douglas to say carne asada without mangling it. Thursday thrifts in Soho, hunting vinyl and flannel shirts that fit Douglas's frame like second skins. One evening, caught in a downpour without umbrellas, they ducked into a jazz club in the village, the sax wailing like a lover scorned. Douglas's knee brushed Jose's under the tiny table, lingering, and neither pulled away. "You're thinking loud," Douglas murmured during a slow number, his breath warm against Jose's ear. Jose met his gaze, pulse quickening. "About what happens when the healing turns into more." Douglas's smile was slow, loaded. "Then we figure it out. Together." The kiss happened on a rooftop in Bushwick, city lights sprawling below like a promise. It started with a shared joint, Douglas's occasional vice, passed shyly between them. Smoke curling into the night as they leaned on the ledge, shoulders touching. Talk turned to fears. Jose's of being the rebound, the pity pick. Douglas's of roots, how trucking kept him free but lonely. "I'm not running anymore," Jose said, exhaling smoke like a confession. "But I'm scared." Douglas turned, cupping his face, thumb tracing a jawline still tender from old doubts. "Me too, but this feels right." Their lips met soft at first, tentative, tasting of weed and possibility. Then deeper, hands fisting shirts, the world narrowing to heartbeat and heat. It wasn't fireworks, but a steady burn. Honest, unhurried, the kind of kiss that rewrote maps. They didn't rush further, content in the slow unraveling. Mornings after became sacred. Douglas's truck idling outside at dawn, Jose slipping in with thermoses of coffee for long-haul company. They'd drive the Jersey Turnpike, radio blasting Lucinda Williams, windows down to let the wind whip away the remnants of night. But shadows lingered. Marcus called again, voice thick with urgency. "Jose, come up for the weekend." Ryan's stressing, morning sickness, the works. "We need family." Jose's grip tightened on the phone, Douglas's hand covering his from across the diner booth. "Family," he echoed, bitter. "Since when am I that?" "Always, bro. Please." He went, against Douglas's quiet protests. You owe them nothing because blood was a chain he couldn't fully snap. The drive to the Catskills was a funeral procession. Trees budding green against gray skies. The brownstone loomed, flower boxes bursting with impatience. Ryan on the porch in sweatpants, hand on a belly just starting to show. "Jose," Ryan said, eyes wide, guilty. "You came." "For the kid," Jose replied, voice steel. "Not you." Inside, Marcus enveloped him in a bear hug, clapping his back too hard. "Good to see you, man. Beers in the fridge. Non-alcoholic for re." The weekend was a minefield. Barbecues where laughter rang false, baby name debates that excluded Jose's input, nights on the guest room couch staring at family photos, him and Marcus's kids, arms slung around Ryan at a Mets game. Betrayal simmered, unspoken, until Saturday night, after too many hands of poker and one beer too many for Marcus. "You ghosted us after the wedding?" Marcus slurred, dealing cards with unsteady hands. "Hurt, bro? Thought we were cool." Jose's cards trembled. "Cool? You stole my life, Marcus. My love, my family, everything." Marcus blinked, sobering fast. "Stole? Ryan chose me, and coming out freaked him. I was just there." "There," Jose spat, "like a vulture." Ryan shifted uncomfortably from the armchair, but said nothing. The silence cracked open old wounds, words flying like shrapnel. Accusations of selfishness, pleas for forgiveness, the baby's innocent kicks underscoring the absurdity. Jose left at dawn, tires screeching on gravel, tears blurring the road. Douglas waited at a rest stop, truck parked crooked, arms open before Jose even spoke. "You're enough," he whispered, holding tight as sobs racked them both. "Always were." Summer hit New York like a fever dream, humidity thick as regret, turning sidewalks into griddles and tempers to tinder. Jose threw himself into work, the Queer Center project blooming into a full campaign. Billboards in Times Square, murals in the Bronx, messages of visibility scrawled in vibrant defiance. Douglas tagged along to installs, hauling paint cans and cracking jokes with the artists. His presence a steady hum amid the chaos. "You're my good luck charm," Jose teased one sweltering afternoon, daubing cobalt on a wall that read "Love wins." But visibility survives. Douglas wiped sweat from his brow, smearing blue across his temple. "Nah, you're the talent. I'm just the muscle who fetches water." Their nights were oases. Picnics in Prospect Park, blankets spread under oaks where fireflies danced like errant stars. Douglas strummed guitar softly, originals about dusty roads and unexpected harbors, while Jose sketched him by firelight, lines capturing the curve of his smile, the way his eyes crinkled with quiet joy. Intimacy grew in layers. Hands laced during movies, forehead kisses at dawn, bodies curling close on Jose's narrow bed, breaths sinking in the dark. "I could get used to this," Douglas murmured one morning, fingers tracing Jose's spine like braille. Jose propped on an elbow, heart full. "Good, because I'm not letting go." But the idyll fractured with a letter, crisp envelope from their parents' address, postmarked the Bronx. Inside, his mother's handwriting, looping and precise, family meeting. August 15th. "No excuses. For the baby's sake and yours." A PS from his father. "We've got things to say, son." Jose folded it away, stomach churning, but Douglas found it later, tucked in a drawer. "You gonna go?" "Have to," Jose sighed, chopping onions for dinner, knife flashing like judgment. "Can't keep running. Not if I want peace." Douglas pulled him close, chin on shoulder. "Then go with backup. I'll drive." The family home hadn't changed. Squat brick row house on a street of sagging stoops, Virgin Mary statue in the yard gazing skyward. Marcus and Ryan arrived first, pulling up in a sensible Honda, Ryan waddling slightly now, 3 months along. Hugs were exchanged, stiff for Jose, effusive for Marcus, but the air crackled with undercurrents. Inside, the kitchen table groaned under platters. Arroz con gandals, pernil crackling with fat, flan sweating in the fridge. Abuela fussed over Ryan, pressing cool cloths to his forehead, while Tio Ramon cracked open Coronas, oblivious to the tension. Jose's parents hovered, his mother lighting candles at the sideboard, murmuring prayers in Spanish. Douglas hung back in the living room, charming Abuela with tales of southern fried chicken versus Puerto Rican arroz. But his eyes tracked Jose like a lifeline. Dinner started civil. Small talk about jobs, the Mets' dismal season, the baby's room painted sage green. Then Marcus steered it, casual as a curveball. "So, Jose, how's the boyfriend?" "Douglas, right? He treating you good?" The table stilled, forks pausing mid-air. Jose's mother crossed herself subtly, eyes darting. "Boyfriend?" she echoed, voice thin. "Yeah," Marcus pressed, oblivious or cruel. "They met at a bar after the wedding. Seems solid." Ryan shot Marcus a look, warning, but damage bloomed. Jose's father cleared his throat, setting down his beer. "We didn't know it was serious." "It's new," Jose said, voice steady despite the quake inside. "But real." Silence stretched, broken by Abuela's sigh. "Ay, mijo. The church says." "The church can wait," his father interrupted, surprising them all. He rubbed his temples, lines etched deeper. "We've been talking. After you came out, it hit hard. Your mother prayed novenas. I drank too much." Jose's breath hitched. "You think I don't know?" "But seeing Marcus and Ryan happy," his mother chimed, hand on Ryan's. "It made us think. Maybe God's plan is bigger. For all of us." Marcus leaned in, earnest now. "I messed up, Jose. With Ryan. I knew how you felt, and I took it anyway. Thought it was fate or some bullshit. But the wedding, ignoring you, that was cowardice." Ryan nodded, eyes glistening. "I was lost, man. Your coming out shook me, made me question everything. Marcus was safe, familiar. But I see now. I hurt you deepest. I'm sorry." Apologies hung heavy, a fragile bridge over chasms. Jose absorbed them, the weight lifting incrementally, like fog burning off. "It wasn't just you," he said finally. I hid too long. Feared losing this. He gestured around, the table, the faces. But I can't pretend anymore. Douglas, he sees me. All of me. Eyes turned to Douglas, summoned by the shift. He stood in the doorway, hands loose at sides. Evenin', folks. Name's Douglas Hale. Pleasure. His father extended a hand, grip firm. Welcome. You play guitar? Marcus mentioned. Yes, sir. And trucks. Keeps me honest. Laughter rippled, tentative, thawing the ice. Abuela pulled Douglas into a chair, piling his plate high. Eat, mijo. Skinny like my boys were. By night's end, toasts were made, not to the baby alone, but to family in all its forms. Jose and Douglas drove back under stars pricked sharp, hands clasped over the gearshift. You were brave, Douglas said, voice low. We were, Jose corrected, squeezing. Team effort. Fall painted the city in fire. Leaves carpeting Central Park. Pumpkins grinning from stoops. Jose's mural went viral. Shares flooding from queer activists. Even a shout-out from a local councilman. Invites poured in, panels, workshops, a gallery show for his sketches. Douglas beamed from the sidelines, hauling easels, charming curators with his drawl. One crisp October night, at the gallery opening in Chelsea, white walls stark against Jose's vibrant chaos. Douglas cornered him amid the crowd, champagne flutes clinking. Got something, he said, pulling a small box from his jacket. Not a ring, God, no, too soon, but a key, worn silver, attached to a leather fob. To my place, in Queens, if you want a drawer, or a whole room. Jose's eyes burned, the gesture landing like grace. You're asking me to? Move in? Hell yeah. Or start to. No rush. Jose kissed him there, public and unapologetic, whispers rippling through the guests like approval. Yes, all in. But joy's shadow is doubt, and it crept in with winter's chill. Douglas's hauls grew longer, cross-country runs to Seattle, Phoenix, weeks apart testing the new rhythm. Texts bridged gaps. Miss your laugh. Saw a mural like yours. Made me homesick. Calls at odd hours, voices husky with longing. Jose filled voids with family men's. Weekly dinners at the Bronx house. Abuela's stories of their grandfather. A quiet union man who'd marched for rights long before Stonewall. Marcus and Ryan's baby shower. A co-ed affair in the park, blue and pink streamers fluttering. Where Jose held ultrasound pics without flinching, even joked about godfather duties. You're good at this uncle thing, Marcus said, clapping his shoulder. Learning, Jose replied, peace tentative but growing. Then, the call came mid-December. Douglas's truck stranded in a blizzard outside Omaha. Stranded, he said, signal crackling. Alternator shot. Parts delayed, could be days. Jose paced his half-empty apartment. Douglas's guitar leaning in the corner. A shared toothbrush in the holder. I'll fly out. No, man. Roads are hell. Stay put. But Jose couldn't, the separation gnawing like hunger. He booked the red-eye, landing in Des Moines at dawn. Renting a Jeep to crawl the icy interstate. The tow yard in Council Bluffs was a frozen limbo. Semis hulking like beached whales. Douglas hunched over a space heater, stubble shadowing his jaw. You idiot, Douglas growled, pulling him into a bone-crushing hug, but his eyes shone. My hero. They waited out the storm in a roadside motel, neon vacancy sign buzzing like a heartbeat. Snow-piled drifts against the window, world muffled white. Curled under thin blankets, Douglas traced Jose's knuckles. This is us now, through blizzards and bullshit. Jose nodded, content in the cocoon. Yeah, it is. Spring thaw brought renewal. The baby, a boy named Elias, arriving pink and squalling in April. Jose held him first, after Marcus, before Ryan, tiny fist curling around his finger. Hey, little man, he whispered. Auntie Jose's got stories for you. Family photos followed. Douglas in the frame now, arm around Jose's waist, grins wide. Whispers faded to acceptance, his mother's prayers shifting to gratitude. Yet climax brewed in quiet ways. Douglas's company offered a promotion, regional supervisor, desk in Atlanta. Closer to family, he said over diner pancakes, syrup pooling like uncertainty. But it means roots. Settling. Jose's fork stilled. And us? Us is the root. Douglas's gaze held steady. Come with, or I turn it down. The choice loomed. A crossroads. New York's pulse, his budding career, versus a shared horizon. Jose walked the high line alone that night, skyline jagged against twilight, weighing heart against habit. May bloomed riotous, dogwoods shedding petals like confetti on the Atlanta-bound decision. Jose's sketches filled journals. Visions of southern porches wrapped in wisteria, city lofts traded for wide skies, but doubt lingered, a thorn in the bloom. Douglas gave space, hauling local runs, his texts light. Saw peaches bigger than softballs. Reminds me of your abuela's pie. Counsel came unexpected. Ryan, of all people, during a park playdate with Elias, the baby gurgling on a blanket amid duck ponds. Heard about the job, Ryan said, tossing crumbs to mallards. Big move. Jose nodded, watching Elias grab at grass. Yeah, scary as hell. Ryan's laugh was rueful. I get it. When Marcus proposed, I panicked. Thought I'd lose the city, my friends. But it grew us. You and Doug? That's real. Don't let fear clip it. Wise words from the ex who broke him. But time had sanded edges. Jose absorbed it, texting Douglas later. Dinner? Your place. Got news. The Queen's apartment. Still sparse, boxes half unpacked. Smelled of garlic and jazz on vinyl. Douglas plated paella. A recipe pilfered from Jose's cookbook, steam rising like hope. Shoot, he said, pouring wine. I accept, Jose said, clinking glasses. The move. Us in Atlanta. Douglas's whoop echoed off walls, lifting Jose in a spin that ended in laughter and kisses, fierce with relief. You're my road warrior. Packing commenced in June, a ritual of sifting. Donate Ryan's old flannel. Keep the guitar pick from their first open mic. Marcus helped. Truck bed loaded with lamps and linens. Banter flowing easy now. Gonna miss terrorizing Brooklyn with you, he said, sealing a box labeled kitchen odds. Atlanta's a flight away, Jose replied, taping with finality. Elias needs an uncle who spoils rotten. The drive south was epic. I-95 snaking through Carolinas, windows down to salt air, radio shuffling from Billie Holiday to Jason Isbell, stops at diners for grits and gossip, motels with neon hearts. In Savannah, they wandered squares moss-draped, Douglas stealing a kiss under live oaks. Feels like a honeymoon, he murmured. Jose grinned. Minus the Elvis Chapel. Atlanta welcomed with humidity and heat. A brick bungalow in Inman Park, porch swing creaking, backyard wild with azaleas. Douglas's new office was a cubicle farm in Midtown, ties choking his drawl, but evenings freed him for porch beers, Jose sketching beside. Jose's freelance adapted. Remote gigs for NYC clients, plus locals, queer center in Decatur, murals for a pride festival. Visibility spread. His name whispered in art circles. Invites to gallery nights where sweet tea mingled with rose. Summer deepened their roots. Barbecues with Douglas's sister, Lila, a firecracker nurse with twin boys who adored Uncle Jose's stories. Drives to Stone Mountain for hikes, peaks offering vistas that humbled. Intimacy flowered private. Lazy Sundays in sheets tangled, Douglas's fingers mapping constellations on Jose's skin. Whispers of forever traded like vows. But betrayal's echo stirred in fall. A letter from an old client, Ryan's startup buddy, enclosing a check and a note. Heard you're thriving. Ryan's proud, says you deserved better. Jose crumpled it, the past a ghost unbanished. Douglas found him on the porch, rocking slow. Spill. It's nothing, Jose lied. Then truth. The note, the pang of validation from the wrong source. Douglas pulled a chair close. Proud? Fuck that. You're a force, Jose. Don't need his ghost stamps. Words landed true, dissolving the knot. They burned the letter in a fire pit that night. Flames devouring ink. Ashes scattering like release. Thanksgiving anchored them. Jose's family flew down, Abuela commandeering the kitchen for a fusion feast. Turkey with sofrito, cornbread arepas. Laughter-filled rooms. Elias toddling into laps, Marcus and Ryan toasting with non-alcoholic cider. To new chapters, his father said, arm around his mother, eyes misty. Douglas fit seamless, carving bird and charming Tio Ramon with tales of Nashville dives. Later, under stars pinpricked sharp, Jose leaned into him. This is home. Winter whispered changes. Douglas's promotion panning out. Bonuses funding a studio edition for Jose's art. A gallery in Ponce Highland offered a solo show, Shadows to Light. Coming home. Sketches of twins reconciled. Loves reclaimed, cities bridged. Opening night glittered. Velvet ropes, champagne flutes. Lila corralling the nephews in tiny bow ties. Marcus and Ryan arrived, Elias in a carrier. Ryan's eyes lingering on a piece titled Mirror's Edge. Two profiles merging into one resilient whole. Beautiful, he whispered, clapping Jose's shoulder. Truly. Marcus nodded, voice thick. Proud of you, bro. For real. The validation, this time landed gentle, no sting, just warmth. But climax crested unexpected, in the New Year hush. Douglas proposed not with knees bent, but over engine grease in the garage, handing Jose a wrench mid-repair on the old Ford. Fix this with me? He asked. Then from his pocket, a ring. Simple band, engraved road ahead. Jose's laugh bubbled through tears. Yes, God, yes. Engagement news rippled. Family cheers, Abuela's rosary beads clicking approval, even a card from Ryan, happiest for you both. Jose wore the ring like armor, a talisman against old doubts. Spring wedding planning wove joy with jitters. Venue hunts in Piedmont Park, menus blending Puerto Rican and Southern. Invites went wide, Bronx kin, Alabama stragglers, the queer center crew. Douglas's band reformed for the ceremony, outlaws turned serenaders. Yet conflict simmered subtle. Jose's fears resurfacing in dreams. Abandonment, mirrors cracking. One night, post-rehearsal dinner, he confessed over bourbon on the porch. What if I'm not enough? The twin thing, it haunts. Douglas knelt, ring glinting. You're my enough, the one who chose light over shadow. That's why. Words sealed, doubts dissolving like mist. Summer 2026 scorched Atlanta gentle. Cicadas chorusing as wedding day dawned. June 21st, solstice sun gilding the park gazebo in gold. Jose woke to Douglas's kiss, coffee brewing, Lila banging pots in the kitchenette they'd rented nearby. Rise, groom. Nephews are plotting chaos. The ceremony unfolded like poetry. White chairs and arcs under magnolias, aisle lined with lanterns flickering soft. Jose's suit, charcoal slim, Puerto Rican flag pin on lapel. Hung crisp, nerves thrumming as Marcus straightened his tie in the mirror. Nervous? His twin asked, eyes mirroring his own. Terrified, Jose admitted. But right. Marcus grinned, clapping shoulders. That's love, bro. The terrifying right. Guests filled seats. Abuela dabbing eyes with lace, his parents beaming from front row. Ryan cradling Elias who cooed at bubbles. Douglas waited at altar, navy suit hugging broad frame, guitar propped like sentinel. His vows came first, voice steady gravel. Jose, you pulled me from highways of alone. With you every mile's home. I promise laughter in storms, hands in the dark, forever your backup. Jose's turn cracked him open. Douglas, you saw me when I was invisible, even to myself. You taught me healing's not solitary. I vow sketches of our story, songs in silence, love that bends but never breaks. Rings exchanged, kiss sealing, cheers erupting, petals raining. Reception spilled into twilight. Band kicking off with At Last, tables groaning under plantains and pecan pie. Toasts flowed. Lila's roast on Douglas's cooking fails. Tio Ramon's salute to family evolution. Marcus's quiet to second chances. Dancing followed, bare feet on grass, Jose and Douglas swaying to Coltrane, world fading to two. Husband, Douglas whispered, nuzzling neck. Jose shivered. Complete. Always. Honeymoon whisked them to Key West. Beaches white as dreams. Conch fritters salty sweet. Days blurred in snorkel masks and sunset sails. Nights in hammocks tracing stars. This is it, Jose said one dawn, waves lapping. The healing. Douglas hummed agreement, fingers laced. And the start. Back home, life layered richer. Jose's show touring. Atlanta to NYC. Whispers of a book deal. Douglas balanced desk and drives. Mentoring young haulers on work-life grace. Elias's first steps happened via video. Chubby legs wobbling toward the camera. Marcus's whoops tinny but triumphant. Fall brought surprise. A positive test. Jose's hand trembling over the stick. Not possible, years of talks, decisions deferred. But there it was, faint lines promising. Panic crested first. How? The casual slip during honeymoon haze. Then fear me? A dad? After everything? Douglas found him in the bathroom, knees to chest. Positive. Jose nodded, tears hot. I'm scared. The twin thing, the betrayal. What if I pass on broken? Douglas knelt, palm to belly. Broken? Nah, you're whole. And we'll be two dads who know grace inside out. They told family over brunch. Gasps, hugs, abuela's milagro. Marcus teared up, Ryan clapping backs. Uncle Elias gets a cousin, he joked, lightening the load. Pregnancy wove wonder with wear. Ultrasounds revealing a girl, kicks like Morse code. Jose sketched her, Luz, they named her early. Nursery murals blooming fireflies and freeways. Morning sick mornings. Douglas brewing ginger tea. Evenings reading The Giving Tree aloud. Winter swelled belly and hearts. Holidays tripled. Bronx-Atlanta flights laden with gifts. New Year's, Luz fluttered strong. Douglas kissing the bump. Happy almost here, kiddo. Birth came fierce in March, hospital lights harsh. Contractions crashing like waves. Douglas coached breaths, Marcus pacing hall. Twin solidarity. At 3:17 a.m., Luz Rivera Hale entered wailing. 6 pounds of fury and pink. Dark hair tufted like Jose's. Jose held her first, tiny form slotting perfect, tears blurring. Hey me Luz, we're your daddies. Douglas leaned in, awestruck. Perfect. Months melted in blur. Feedings at dawn, Luz's coos sinking with Douglas's lullabies. Jose's book deal solidified, twin flames. A journey out, memoir laced with sketches, betrayal to blessing. Signings packed houses, questions probing. How'd you forgive? Time, Jose answered always. And love that waits. One signing, in Brooklyn's old haunt, Ryan approached line's end, Elias on hip. Bought for the library, he said. Signing to old friends, new chapters. Proud, Jose. Deeply. Jose hugged him past dissolving sweet. Thanks. Means everything. Home. Luz's first laugh bubbled over Douglas's tickles. Jose capturing it in quick lines. Family grew. Visits from Abuela, Lila's boys tumbling chaos, Marcus's annual twin trip. Camping Smokies, beers by fire, stories retold softer. Betrayal scar faded to story. A chapter closed humanely, not erased but integrated. Jose watched Marcus chase Elias in the yard one summer eve. Douglas grilling, Luz napping in shade, and felt the hooks pull reverse. From pain's grip to joy's embrace. Climax had peaked in forgiveness's quiet roar. Conflict resolved in daily devotions. Diapers, designs, drives. Emotions deepened roots. Romance a constant hum. Yet humanism whispered final. No endings tidy, but lives woven resilient. Douglas caught Jose sketching one dusk, Luz asleep between. What's this one? Jose smiled, line curving tender. Us, healing where least expected. Years folded like accordions, time compressing joys and trials into tapestries. Luz turned 5 in a backyard whirl of piñatas and guitars. Her curls wild as questions. Daddy Jose? Why do I have 2 daddies? Jose knelt, explaining love's spectrum simple as sky. Because the world needs all colors, mi amor. Douglas's laugh boomed from grill, flipping burgers. And extra love means double ice cream. Laughter rippled. Kin gathered. Marcus's family now quartet with Sophia, toddler sister to Elias's 7-year mischief. Ryan, ever the quiet anchor, captured it on camera. For the album, he said, a nod to amends sealed. Jose's book spawned speaking tours. Colleges in Cali, pride stages in Chicago, panels dissecting twin dynamics, queer resilience. Betrayal taught me boundaries, he'd say, slides of Mirror's Edge glowing. But family? That's the rewrite. Q&A's unearthed echoes. A fan? Tear-streaked, clutching worn copy. My brother's straight passing, but I'm scared to come out. Jose's hug lingered. Start small. One mirror at a time. You've got a tribe waiting. Douglas joined when routes aligned, his tales of roadbound queers. Truckers with rainbow stickers, diner confessions. Grounding the abstract. Healing's highway miles, he'd quip. Detours make the view. Home anchored. Atlanta's pulse slower than Brooklyn's, but deeper. Farmers' markets hawking heirlooms. Trails winding Chattahoochee. Date nights evolved. Babysitters for Lila's crew. Jazz dens where Douglas two-stepped clumsy. Jose leading with sway. Anniversaries marked milestones. Crystal for 10, Douglas gifting a custom guitar. Strings tuned to Jose's favorite chords. Engraved our harmony. Vows renewed porchside. Luz scattering petals. Stars witnesses. Conflict resurfaced gentle. Douglas's wanderlust flaring mid-40s. A cross-country solo tempting. Just to remember, he confessed over whiskey, porch swing creaking. Jose's heart twinged, old fears of loss, but met it head-on. Go, but bring back stories. And hurry home. Douglas returned sunbrowned, tales of Grand Canyon dawns. A pebble from Pacific shores for Luz's collection. Missed this, he said, pulling Jose close. You, the pull. Deeper trials tested. Jose's diagnosis, low-grade, treatable prostate whisper at 50, caught early via routine. Hospital stays blurred. Chemo's fog lifting slow. Douglas's hand constant. We're fighters, he'd murmur, brewing bone broth, strumming soft. Family rallied. Marcus flying down, bunking couch. Abuela's remote rosaries. Ryan's care packages, Elias's drawings, Sophia's scribbles. Luz, 10 now, drew superheroes. Daddy Jose beats bad guys. Remission rang bells, scars badges. Human fragility, Jose wrote in epilogue drafts. Book 2 brewing, echoes of enough. But love? That's the cure. Luz bloomed fierce. Art classes echoing Jose's. Soccer fields with Douglas coaching slides. First crush. A classmate. Shy note passed. Prompted kitchen talks. Heart's brave kid. Own it. Marcus's midlife pivot mirrored. Photography firm folding. He joined Ryan's expanded startup. App for queer family therapy. Irony not lost. Full circle. He toasted at their joint birthday bash. Twins 48. Beers foaming. Betrayal to brotherhood. Jose clinked. Who'd have thought? Old age crept benevolent. 60s silvering hair. Joints creaking like porch swings. Douglas retired routes for teaching music workshops at community centers. Outlaws mentoring youth. Jose's murals span states. Book 3 a graphic novel, Twins Tale, illustrated redemption. Grandkids arrived. Elias's twins, boy-girl whirlwinds named Rio and Luna, echoing rivers and light. Luz's partner, a poet named Kai, wedding under magnolias, vows vowing visibility. Evenings settled ritual. Porch at dusk, Luz's visits with Kai's tales, grandbabies tumbling. Douglas's guitar softer, fingers gnarled but sure. Jose's sketches finer, lines whispering wisdom. One autumn eve, leaves flaming, Douglas set down strings. Regrets. Jose pondered, hand in hand. None. You? The twin mess. Douglas chuckled. Led here, to healing's heart. They watched sun dip, city humming distant. Lives a mosaic, dramatic fractures mended romantic. Emotions etched humanistic. Betrayals by kitsch faded to footnote. Chow Treo in quiet triumphs. Luz called then, voice crackling. Pops? Story time. Always, Jose said, pulling Douglas close. Once upon a twin. Fade to embers, story eternal, where least expected, love endures.